Senator Schmitt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will say, though, that I'm actually kind of taken aback. The hypocrisy and cognitive dissonance I've heard from the other side of the aisle in this hearing is stunning, even by Washington standards. Let's pick apart a couple of these arguments. First of all, President Trump avoided, much to the chagrin of many who wanted more entanglements in the Middle East, a very surgical and strategic strike that was in the core interests of the United States of America, period. The regime change that he was talking about was from the inside. If that's going to happen, that's going to happen. But the Democrat Party effectively at this point is the pro-war party. There's no diplomacy. It's just about pick your theater. That's where they want to go. The whole idea that Iran was even in this position is because Obama sent them truckloads, or I should say pallets of cash, and Joe Biden looked the other way. And then they were able to arm and fund the Houthis and Hamas and Hezbollah, a problem that then had to be dealt with by Israel. And so this sort of looking the other way now and using language like not being tied up in a forever war, listening to my Democratic colleagues, that's where we'd be right now in Europe and in Ukraine. They want the immediate admission of Ukraine into NATO and the United States to directly engage. Thank God we have a president that will engage in diplomacy and understand, by the way, the inconsistency that I hear from the other side of the aisle. On one hand, Ukraine's going to win. But on the other hand, Putin is on the verge of steamrolling through Europe. It's nonsense. It doesn't make any sense. But the fact is, the Democrats are criticizing President Trump right now, who achieved something that if you would have been sitting here 2 years ago and looked at the map of the Middle East, would have been impossible to think of. He used the bunker-busting bombs, by the way, flown out of those B-2s from Missouri. They were in the air for 30 hours and refueled. Through subterfuge and exquisite execution, dropped those bunker busters on something the size of the desk that you're at, General. And they completed that mission. And the president acted under his core Article 2 powers. Spare me the next constitutional crisis. Every week, by the way, it's some ridiculously fake new constitutional crisis. Obama used that same authority to drop thousands of bombs. We didn't hear a word. The only thing that binds the Democrat Party right now is that they are anti-Trump. They stand for nothing else. An incoherent, wandering foreign policy, a domestic agenda that has been adopted by the radical left. That's it. And by the way, I also want to point out that through every conferee that's come through this committee and others, the question has been asked, will you abide by the law? We are literally now less than 12 hours after a district court judge approved by this Senate when the Democrats were in charge and a lame duck president who is now defying the Supreme Court. A district court judge who is now defying the Supreme Court, who said you have to deport these 7 criminals who raped grandmas and people with disabilities. So, let's have a bit of a reality check about what's going on in this country right now. Maybe we could actually celebrate a president who executed something in the core national interest of the United States and then got on the phone and got 2 parties together who've been at war for effectively generations. So it's just, there are certain moments that you feel like you're outside of your own body watching something that's so inconsistent just to score some sort of daily political point. Now, should we have a conversation about Article 1 powers versus Article 2 powers? Absolutely, but the president was clearly within his Article 2 powers to do this. So I do want to ask, with the limited time I suppose that I have left, General, NATO, the president is heading to the NATO summit. Our European allies for a very long time now, generations, have abuse the generosity of the United States of America because we're subsidizing their social welfare programs in Europe. There's going to be a commitment to 5%. I guess I'd like to hear from each one of you how you use your role, that they'll actually do that. And I don't mean for pensions, I mean for munitions. And 5% of your GDP declarations, they don't win wars. Bullets do, missiles do. Their defense base is more atrophied than ours. But what role can you play in your conversations with leaders over there that they're actually going to live up to their commitments and as opposed to sort of just making these proclamations and never really doing anything about it?
Senator, thanks for the question. If confirmed, I think that's one of my key roles, is to look at that increased investment that the alliance has agreed to or is on the cusp of agreeing to at the summit, and ensuring that it's put into real capability, hard military capability that will allow Europeans to take the lead for European defense and allow America to continue to participate in that defense, but also to meet our other global requirements.
And Senator, I think a little bit of a different dynamic and situation in the Middle East. Several of the countries have deep pockets. They're very committed to buy American weapons and sensors. I think our obligation is to make sure the FMS process can deliver those weapons in a reasonable time frame, and I would advocate for that if confirmed.
Thank you. We've got a lot of F-15s we'd like to sell. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.